Today I have the opportunity to take a look at one of the most drop-dead gorgeous cars on the planet, the Aston Martin DBS. Wow! I'm gonna walk around this car and tell you why I believe this is a modern classic, go over all of the cool differences that the DBS has compared to the DB9, and we'll even take it for a drive. You'd be remiss to think that this is just sort of a slightly tweaked Aston Martin DB9, but the cool thing about the DBS, every single panel on the entire car, besides the doors, is actually completely different than the DB9. Now, when we're talking about the idea of a modern classic, I think the first thing that comes to mind is the looks of the car. There's absolutely no denying that Aston Martin has a certain cachet, a certain suave, that just kind of sets it apart from other brands. One of the cool things that I've always liked about Aston Martin itself is it gets a lot of love compared to driving around in something like a Ferrari or a Lamborghini where you're going to see a lot of hate. Aston Martin, I'm not sure if it's because of the James Bond movies, but it seems to just be loved by car enthusiasts and non-car enthusiasts alike. When you look at this car, from basically every single angle, it just looks so incredibly beautiful. But coming into the front, I want to point out a couple important things. Of course, like any Aston Martin, and of course any classic Aston Martin, you have this amazing looking grille that is just so recognizable to the Aston Martin brand. I actually like this sort of 2012 era of Aston Martin because it definitely looks a lot more classic than the current day Aston Martins. The DBS, like I said, has a lot that's actually different than the base model DB9. You can even see, just coming in close, you actually have a nice carbon fiber accented front splitter, which looks really, really gorgeous. Coming onto this carbon fiber hood, that's right, this is actually a carbon fiber hood. You see the gorgeous wings of Aston Martin. And beyond that, you have these really cool but functional little air vents on the hood. It looks pretty cool from this angle. You can see just how deep they actually go. The Aston Martin DBS is a very classy car, so you don't have any huge wings or anything like that, but the combination of all these little things definitely make the car more aggressive at large. You have things like this more aggressive front bumper, which looks really, really good. And of course, being Aston Martin, you have a great build quality. Pieces like this, that would be just plastic on another car, are true aluminum. And you have these nice little bits that add up to be a true gentleman classic car. Even coming in close and looking at this little side skirt, I love the way of the sculpture here that looks really, really nice and adds to the overall ambiance of the car. Before we get too carried away, I also want to point out this beautiful wheel design, but also what's behind the wheels. You have these carbon ceramic brakes, and the Aston Martin DBS was actually the first Aston Martin to have standard carbon ceramic brakes. The rear three-quarter view of this car is so beautiful. Of course, it comes in a hardtop, but for California living, you gotta get the convertible. And there's all these little nuanced pieces that make this much more special than a, quote, normal DB9. First, let's come in and look at this diffuser. If I come in close, you can actually see this is completely carbon fiber. And when I come to the side, you can see just how chunky it actually is on the rear end. Going up a little bit, you see again a little nuanced flick towards the rear end, which looks pretty nice and definitely sets this apart. One of the coolest things about this car is the use of carbon fiber. This right here, this trunk lid, is carbon fiber. So the hood and the trunk are carbon fiber. When you do see this directly from the rear, I love these little bubbles. It almost gives me a Zagato feel. To talk about the DBS, I have to mention the heart of this. You have a 6-liter Aston Martin V12. One of the coolest parts about this car is this incredible engine that they just really aren't making anymore. You can barely get a V12 in any vehicles these days, and I think the fact that you have a 515 horsepower V12 by Aston Martin gives this major modern classic points. You can actually get this car in a manual transmission, which is the more rare option, or an automatic like this one is. The cool thing about this is it's not a single clutch automated manual that will give you a ton of problems and you're going to have to replace the expensive clutch, but it is just a normal ZF automatic, which makes this super usable every single day and very low on the maintenance side of things. Now, as we get into the interior of this DBS, we have to actually open the door. And there's a couple cool things about Aston Martin doors. You have this cool little door handle, but what I think is the coolest part, these doors actually don't just go completely horizontally out, but just like I'm demonstrating right here, they actually go outward and a little bit up so that you can dodge curbs. Stepping into the DBS, you have a few things that I really like about the interior of this car. First off is it's very classic feeling. You don't have a huge screen. One of the coolest things is you have a screen right here, but you can hide that away so that you never need to see it. And I think right now, given that this car is 13 years old, it's a little bit outdated. So the fact that you can just hide that away is a really cool feature. Everything is really clean and put together really nicely. Of course, you benefit from the build quality of an Aston Martin. You have things like carbon fiber right here. You can see the nice leather stitching and even a upgraded Bang & Olufsen sound system. So when you are cruising, you have really nice tunes to listen to. You can see you do have these tiny, tiny little seats where you probably could fit a very, very small human or a child. But overall, this is a nice, comfy place to be. It's not gonna beat you up when you're driving, and this is something where you can truly soak up the miles in style. Of course, being a convertible, you have the best of both worlds. In the California sunshine, like today, you want to have the top down, but let's see how this actually goes up and down. All right, driving the Aston Martin DBS. The first thing that I notice is just how easy to drive it is. The cool part is you have an amazing looking car, an amazing sounding car, but at the end of the day, you have an automatic transmission, something that rides really well and is really meant to soak up the miles. This is a gentleman's cruiser, a Grand Tour, so it's meant to take on hundreds of miles. When you want, because this is an automatic, you can shift into manual mode, just a flick of the paddle, and you can start to go through the gears and hear a little bit of this gorgeous V12. So let's listen to it. Wow. Even at 5,000 RPM, this thing sounds glorious. This car is really kind of a unique piece, I think, of modern classic history. They don't make V12s, and they're kind of cutting back on great sounding cars. The fact that you can pick this up for $80,000 is remarkable. That's at 4,000 RPM. This thing really sounds amazing. You might think that because this is just an automatic transmission, it's going to be really laggy and not that engaging, but it's actually not that way at all. I think it's actually a benefit that this is an automatic because you don't get the outdated technology that was a single clutch automated manual transmission, but you actually get a usable ZF automatic. All right, let's step on it a little bit and hear the V12. Wow, it's really torquey. That's something that I have to say I'm a bit surprised. I knew this was a quick car. I know it has 500 horsepower, but a V12 has torque that, you know, a turbo 6-cylinder just doesn't have. What a beautiful, beautiful noise. The transmission also, for being an automatic, is pretty responsive. I will say it doesn't feel like you're lagging a whole lot, and ultimately it's pretty quick. All right, let's hear this beautiful V12 one more time. Wow, it really pulls. This is such a great car. Even the low-end torque is kind of what I'm most surprised by. I'm used to driving, you know, turbocharged 6 cylinders or twin turbo V8, but a naturally aspirated V12? Listen to that. Wow. This is truly something special. I think if you're in the market for a car like this, you're gonna spend $80,000. Look at the options you have. You have something, you know, like a brand new M4. You have these more sort of normal cars, or you can spend your money on something that I believe will go down in history as a modern classic, has a beautiful V12, and looks the part more than any other car you can buy. Well, the DBS certainly surprised me. I knew it would be fast, I knew it would sound good, but this is really opening my mind to just how incredible these cars are. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in this specific car, it's a beautiful example with only 14,000 miles, and it's for sale in the Los Angeles area for only about $82,000. The incredible styling, the awesome V12, and the fact that this is a Bond car that looks the part, I think truly makes this a modern classic. They're not really making a whole lot more V12s in this day and age, and the fact that you can pick this up for around $80,000, I think leaves a lot of room for potential appreciation. I hope you enjoyed this video and this amazing Aston Martin DBS. Check out my channel for many more videos to come.